The Straits Times' food editor Tan Xue Yun is here to share more. Now, Xue Yun, the inscription is not so much about hawker food, isn't it? It's about the entire experience, the culture of, going to the hawker center.
That's right. It's so much a part of our life, isn't it? We go to a hawker center, we walk past a hawker center, we have many opinions about hawkers, the food centers. So it's not really just about the food. In fact, the food is just a very small part of the whole thing.
Right. And Xue, in what ways will the recognition benefit hawkers? Because it doesn't seem like the benefits will be monetary.
Yeah, well, hence intangible, right? No, I think what it means for hawkers, right, is that the government is really committed to keeping this culture alive. It will do whatever it takes to make sure that it continues. So if you are a veteran hawker, here the entire government is now saying that we are going to do whatever it takes to keep this culture alive and to keep your livelihood safe, right? And then for people who maybe want to become hawkers, but then they keep thinking, well, the status is low, the hours are long, the slog is really hard. This is like a bit of a boost, isn't it? And if you do this and you do this well, you're going to be recognized for your efforts. And it's not just a matter of like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to become a hawker and then no one's going to support me and then things are just going to be really hard. And, so there is guidance, there will be programs, there'll be mentorships, apprenticeships, things to help aspiring hawkers be as good as they can get.
Right. Well, we're going to talk more about how each of us can sustain the hawker culture in just a little bit. But I want to find out from you, Xue, are there any benefits that the inscription will bring to tourism when Singapore can finally open to tourists again?
Well, you know that, when Michelin decided to bestow a star on a braised soy sauce chicken stall, overnight there were long queues, right? So you think about that multiplied by 6,000, because there's 6,000 hawker stalls in Singapore, and you imagine that this is going to be something that people will come to Singapore for, right? Not everybody is going to come here and just eat in Michelin-starred restaurants, and then we offer so much diversity and so much depth and breadth in our selection of hawker stalls, 6,000 of them. You can never hope to go to all of them in one lifetime.
Xue, keeping the inscription means we have to preserve hawker culture because Singapore now has to submit a report every 6 years to UNESCO to show efforts are made to safeguard and transmit hawker culture to future generations. So what would it take, you reckon, to sustain hawker culture going forward?
Well, I think the most important and most urgent task is really to attract a new generation of hawkers, people who are not becoming hawkers just because they're desperate for jobs, right? But people who actually have passion and who maybe don't have the know-how yet, but the government can help them with schemes and programs and mentorships and apprenticeships. So attracting new blood, I think, is very vital to keeping it alive. And then, of course, it's not just what the government can do for hawkers, it's what we Singaporeans can do for hawker culture as well. I know a lot of people would rather go eat in a fast food joint than sit and sweat it out in a hawker center. But if we don't patronize hawker stalls, if we don't support them, if we don't make hawker food a part of our lives, then culture will become irrelevant to our lives, right?
Yeah.
Well, as with every topic, there are some naysayers, and these people are saying that perhaps the UNESCO inscription isn't deserved because hawker culture isn't unique to Singapore. So, Xue, what's your take on that?
Well, a lot of countries have street food. Developed countries, not so developed ones. But I think in Singapore, you have it's sort of like part of our landscape. It's not sort of like a bunch of food trucks collected in one area or maybe people hawking food by the roadside. It's it's the center itself, right? Every HDB town has many, hawker centers, and each of them would offer more than 2 dozen choices for people who want to eat anything under the sun. You can find it in a hawker center, and you can eat in relative comfort. And you can be sure that hygiene will be there because the stalls are graded. So I kind of think that all of these elements make it very unique to Singapore. And I can't think of another place that would have something like a hawker center and a hawker culture that kind of has been built up over the decades.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Xue, for setting aside time to speak with us. We've been speaking to the food editor at the Straits Times, Tan Sheryin.